A lot of you guys have been asking us about our workflow, but today we're going to look at one thing in particular, is the Loupedeck Plus that we've been using quite regularly. So before we look at the Loupedeck Plus, let's talk a little bit about the company first. It started in 2016 and they're trying to launch the original Loupedeck via the crowdfunding campaign, and yes, this is another one, but this is a successful one unlike the others I talked about before. It's really popular among photo editors, and myself included. I was so impressed with it, and I can already say the conclusion about my photo editing. I love this as a photographic tool, just perfect. But today we're gonna just talk about the video side of it. Yes, it's actually a very new thing, especially for Final Cut Pro user.
It's only water, it's either sink or swim. Can't hold back your light and expect to win. Gotta go harder, oh you've gotta learn. Don't suppress your fire, baby, let it burn.
One of the reasons I want to talk about the Loupedeck Plus today is because it is compatible with Final Cut Pro finally, and so it's very exciting news for me, because as a hybrid shooter now I shoot both stills and videos, and I'm already using this for photo editing, which is brilliant like I mentioned, but this is really cool, and first of all, just like using as in Photoshop and Lightroom, everything is customizable. So all the dials and buttons can be configured to your preference really. If you like certain button to do certain things, every single thing can be customized. And also when you plug it into the laptop, it automatically recognizes which platform you want to use it on. For instance, if you have Final Cut Pro open, when you plug this in, it will automatically apply your Final Cut Pro configurations into the Loupedeck, so everything will work as you remember how you configured it. And then let's say you switch off Final Cut Pro, you launch Lightroom again, everything switch automatically, so you don't have to touch it or do anything to it. It just adapts to that program. And now Loupedeck is compatible with many editing software. This is really brilliant. For instance, Tracey also uses Premiere Pro on top of Final Cut Pro, which the Loupedeck Plus also supports. But today I'm going to fully concentrating on Final Cut Pro, which is my primary editing tool. Let's talk about some positive and negatives of Loupedeck Plus, shall we? Well, a few things that I really enjoy. First of all, the build quality. Very nice. It actually reminds me of one of those old computer keyboards, to be quite honest, because this is how it feels like, and everything's very tactile. The button is very pronounced. It's got a very cool spring underneath, and even if you hit it, it does give you that really kind of retro vintage 90s keyboard. I don't know, gamers actually love that, and but for me, I do enjoy that kind of very tactile feedback from the button itself, and the dials are very well damped. I love the dials, so it just very cool there. And secondly, I do enjoy the compatibilities now, because for most photographers or hybrid shooters out there, you will love basically how compatible it is for all kinds of major popular softwares out there for both stills and videos. And then also another thing is how portable it is. So like I said, it's like a keyboard, and in fact it's shaped and sized like a normal traditional keyboard as well, which means that you can actually carry it with your laptop if you're kind of working remotely a lot. So you don't have to restrict it as a desktop tool. It can be a mobile tool as well, and of course it's powered by USB, so you don't have to charge it or anything like that. You just plug it straight to your computer and it works flawlessly. So not everything is of course positive. There are some things things that I get a little bit annoyed about the Loupedeck Plus is, first of all, is the USB connections. Well, this is 2019, or even last year, 2018. Everything's moving towards USB-C, and they still have the USB-A connection. So this is not the end of the world. There's still many devices out there that support USB-A, but that's the future, the USB-C connection. So it would be nice to have a USB-C, especially when you have a Mac, and like myself. And okay, the second thing that got me a little bit more annoyed is the speed. So you may actually get confused about the whole thing about the word speed, because I've said you can absolutely speed up the workflow by using the Loupedeck, but I'm actually talking about the operational side of it. So there is a little bit of a delay when you're doing editing, both on still and video. When you're working with Lightroom or Photoshop, it's not actually as obvious, because as you know, stills are just a photo, so everything is quite static. So when you turn things like adjusting colors, like color temperatures or contrast or whatever, you turn the dials, you don't need to see that thing instant, because there's always been a little bit of delay in Lightroom anyway, so that delay is not very pronounced. But when you're working with video, that's when things changes, and you can actually feel the delay, because when you do, let's say you want to scrub the videos a little bit by turning it down left and right, you really want to have the instant feel. And at the moment, especially on the Final Cut, and then you will experience a little bit of delay when you scrub the video, and even when you do color grading, for instance, you will experience a little bit of a delay when you turn the contrast or highlight, the shadow, that sort of thing. Yeah, you will experience it. Not the end of the world. You just have to adapt to it, so it's not things that you kind of expect as an instant thing. I'm hoping, though, there will be a firmware update in the future that will kind of speed things up a little bit. And I know this is actually their first attempt in the Final Cut Pro, so I'm pretty sure the things will improve in the future. So these are kind of the only two things that I kind of get a little bit annoyed, but overall I'm still very impressed with that. So one more thing I want to add to the annoying list is that the Loupedeck Plus does not work with the color board within the Final Cut Pro. So if you are one of those users who's still using color board and color wheel together, that can be very tricky. So just be very mindful about what I'm gonna say. First of all, if you have the color board enabled, if you're adjusting anything on the Loupedeck Plus, for instance, exposure, if you're under exposure, so you want to crank it up a little bit, you won't see any changes if you turn a dial, and but everything's going to still be stored into the system. It's funny, and then as soon as you click and enable the color wheel, that change you made previously will apply instantly to the frame. So it can be a little bit a shock if you're using color board a lot, because you try to do an adjustment like the saturations, the highlights and shadow and things like that, you'll see nothing happen, and as soon as you enable color wheel, you just got this jump, everything just apply all at once. It can be a shock to you, so yeah, just be careful about that. My final thoughts about the Loupedeck Plus. I personally really enjoy this, and as I said before, I'm totally 100% in love with this for photo editing, and now I'm becoming to like these things for video editing as well, because it works with Final Cut Pro and it makes color grading extremely easy and it's just perfect. And I know that it's still something about the Loupedeck Plus is that it takes a while to remember all those configurations, especially when you see the actual button layouts. Most of them are labeled for photo stuff. So when you, for instance, if you want to have a scrub things like that, you have to remember which style is for scrubbing, for instance, or trimming. You have to kind of remember that. But I guess you can customize it yourself by having little stickers sticking onto the deck itself. But other than that, I'm in love with it. It's probably one of the best tools if you are working in a pro environment, or even working as an amateur but having tons and tons of editing to do. This will speed up your life. I'm not joking. It's a very worthwhile investment, for sure. There you go. I truly enjoyed it. So hope you enjoyed the video you just saw, and yeah, don't forget to subscribe our channel if you haven't already done so, and click on the bell button notification so you know when our new video comes out. So until next time, see you then, bye. Welcome to Red35, and yeah, we're gonna today we're gonna show you. Yes, okay. Welcome to okay. It's finally make it compatible with Final Cut Pro, which I work with it. Come on, come on. Time for coffee. Come on, fuck it, come on. Oh.